All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. So today we're going to be talking about the beginning parts of the Renaissance, what caused it, what was it, and then we're going to talk about this one guy in particular, um, named Niccolo Machiavelli, and he wrote this book that really made people think. And when I was explaining it in class, it made a lot of other people think too, like, "Oh my god, wow, really?" And it's one of my favorite lessons because a lot of you students, when you really listen to what I'm trying to say and you take in what I'm saying, it just opens up your eyes and you see the world just a little bit differently. Okay? So, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so we're going to analyze how the term Renaissance has more than one meaning, or examine the difference between Dark Age art and Renaissance art. And then we'll create an argument on whether Niccolo Machiavelli has an argument about people. And that's the one thing I was telling you about, that a lot of students that really listened and took into what I was saying have a different perspective on why people choose things that we choose, type of stuff. So it's pretty interesting. So here is your warm up picture. Basically, what I want to know is, what do you think these angels are doing? You know, or are they, what's going on here? What does it look like to you that they're doing? You know, so some of you guys have seen this picture before. Some of you guys haven't. For those of you guys who haven't, yeah, this is a very famous painting. For some of you guys who have, I'm sure you've probably contemplating like what's going on here too. So tell me, what do you think? Right? All right. So go ahead, write your responses. Okay, because we're moving on in three, two, one. All right. So the warm up picture, those two angels are at the bottom if you look. Um, this is the whole picture, but a lot of people just like to look at that little bottom part. Why? I don't know. I don't know if they just think, oh, those angels are so cute and things like that, or it's just the mystery of what are they looking at, So yeah, but just wanted to show you that this was the whole picture of that painting. It's not just those little angels. All right, so Renaissance. After the Black Death and the plague basically wiping out like two-thirds of the world, there was a decline in the church authority. Because if you remember, people who were dying of the plague, they went to the church to get their last rites, to be um, to be heard of their confession, and to attend church so their souls could be saved. But the church ended up denying them. You know, So this really made some people especially those who survived, to look at the church like, you know what? Why did we give so much faith into them when they weren't there for us when we needed them most? At the time when they're all talking about saving souls and saving your soul, we went to them to have our souls saved, and they turned their backs on us. So maybe we shouldn't give them as much authority as we did in the past. So the term Renaissance literally means rebirth. Now, the thing that makes it interesting with the term Renaissance is that we're not just talking about a change in one thing. We're talking a change in a lot of stuff. People are starting to go back to way things were back in the Greek and Roman ages. People are no longer superstitious. Well, there are still people who are superstitious, but not as much. Some people are more like, why haven't I learned about this? Maybe I should go back to trying to learn how to read, do math, things like that. All right. So that's their mentality of, we need to change, not just mentally, but also physically, and how we see the world and things like that. So the first place that the Renaissance happened was in Italy. and then it spread throughout Europe. Cities that really embraced the Renaissance became very, very wealthy, became very rich. Okay. So again, people were looking back at the Romans and the Greeks and be like, looking at their artwork, their statue, their schools and the way they taught and things like that. And we're like, you know what, we need to go back to that. You know, why did we let these kings and noblemen and stuff like that? Why did we let them make us dumb? You know, how did our ancestors fall for that stuff? Okay. Now, one of the things you'll notice in the artwork, so if you look at the top two pictures, they're very two-dimensional. They're very like this, they're very about religion and things like that. The artist of those top two paintings, nobody knows who they are. Why? Because those artists back in the day made those paintings not for recognition, but rather, oh, it's about showing people this talent that God has given me. So I'm gonna make this mural. I'm gonna make um, this painting and things like that. So if you notice too, the pictures are not very realistic. I mean, look at that. Where it says the bee on there, that lady up on top with the baby. Look where the baby is. I mean, is he floating? Is he sitting on her boob? I mean, uh, how is this working here? And look at the baby's head. It's so tiny. And then look at her nose, and there's like no bridge. It's just straight, you know. And her nose is so long, and it just does not work. You can tell it's not very realistic. It's not to scale. But if you look at the bottom two pictures, they are very realistic. Look at the texture, the arms, the especially the one of the Jesus being on the. You look at his arms, his ribs, his abs. You can see the definition, the depth. You know, things like that. I mean, heck, the one with see the lady's cutting the dude's head off, and you can see the blood, the muscle in the guy's arms, and some of that. It's a lot of detail. Whereas the top ones, you don't see much detail. It's very smooth and things like that. You know, so that's the difference between the two. One is using various colors and shades, and has different stories, whereas the top ones are definitely religion, no detail really. Um, and the artists on the top two, again, we don't really know. The bottom two, we know exactly who they were because they were like, people are gonna know I painted this. You know, they wanted recognition. Now, during the Renaissance time, there were these guys who were considered Renaissance men. The title was not just given out to anyone. You had to be a student of a lot of different things, not just, oh, you're a good artist, things like that. No, you had to be good in a lot of things. And number one guy is Leonardo da Vinci. Number one. He was a sculptor, an architect, an inventor, a mathematician. We're actually going to be having a lesson of him later on. Okay. But yeah, he did everything. The next guy, it was really important, was Michelangelo di Lodovico. Um, I'm gonna kill this last name. Buonarroti Simoni. Okay, my pronunciation, I probably, like I said, butchered that name, but either way. Michelangelo was a sculptor, a painter, architect, and a poet. Okay, he was a very, very skilled man. The next guy, Raphael Giovanni Santi. He was a painter and he was an architect. He built some of the best churches in Rome at the time. Very beautiful. I mean, you could probably spend all day just looking at the paintings and admiring the structures and stuff like that of the churches. Next one, Sandro Botticelli. He was a painter, amongst other things, but that was his claim to fame. And the last person was Donatello. Let me move this little video thing over to the side because that little statue you see of that little kid, that's made of marble. And if you look at his cloth, it looks like you could just grab it, that you could just touch it. But if you do, you'll realize it's rock. He literally made rock and made it look real. Same thing with the kid's hair. Look at his hair, the little parts that's just on his forehead. It blends in so well, but yet again, it's rock. The strands of hair he made look like individualized hair strands. Absolutely beautiful. Okay. Now I had a student in class. Basically, just like a light bulb went on their head, and they go, "Oh my God, I never noticed." I go, "Notice what?" All these, well, not all of them, but a lot of these guys, they're the Ninja Turtles. Excellent. Yes, yes. The Ninja Turtles are named after these Renaissance men: Michelangelo, Donatello, Leonardo, and Raphael. Yes, they're named after these guys. So if that's the way you remember the Renaissance men, the artists, because of the Ninja Turtles, guys, I'm all for it. Okay? Any way you can remember these guys, I'm all for that. So that was like an awesome moment that student had, which I was like, that's great. Okay. Now, in some places in Europe, there was no monarchy. Okay. City states became independent. Places like Milan, Venice, Florence, they started to expand and they were crucial in the expansion of the Renaissance as well. Now, in Italy, the port cities, the cities where that were near the water, the Mediterranean, some of that. During the Crusades, they made a lot of money, and then when the plague happened, the towns started kind of like shriveling away because a lot of people died. But then after the plague, the cities started coming back again, started making money, and when they made money, some families became very powerful. And the three top ones are the Visconti, the Forza, and I'm gonna kill this name again, Medici. Yeah, Medici. Those three families became extremely powerful. And from my understanding, the Forza and Medici are still pretty famous now. You know, they're not as rich as they used to be, but they are still like a respected family in Italy. Now, Niccolo Machiavelli writes a book called The Prince. And in his book, he's basically telling you how politics should be and how to get it. And he says it's not that hard to get political power and keep it. It's not that hard at all. Okay. He basically says the old way of thoughts have to be thrown away. Why? Because they're old. They don't work anymore. Times have changed. And one of the big things he says is morals should not be, or sorry, morals should be active in a ruler, okay? But as a person, that person should have morals. But when it comes to politics and what's doing what's best for the country, morals should have um, no say so. Okay. So as a person, you should know, man, maybe we shouldn't starve children. You know, yeah, maybe that's not a good thing. You know, as a person, you should say that. But as a ruler, if it became between saving 100 of your best soldiers or 100 kids, he says you have to choose the soldiers. Now, I've had some students in class go, well, maybe some of those kids might be soldiers. True. But are all of them going to be soldiers? No. And those that become soldiers, are they going to be the best soldiers? Probably not. Whereas here, you have 100 of your best soldiers that you need to save. So that's what he's saying. When you're the ruler, you can't have morals. You got to do what's best for your country. And he says basically, attitude towards power is based on human nature, he's saying we are self centered. Everything we do is about us. No matter what decision you make, it's about us. And this is the thing I was telling you guys at the very beginning. Um, this is the part where a lot of students, when I teach this lesson, it, the light bulb goes off in their head like, oh my God. So think about it. Everything you, myself, anyone else does, it's all about them. Here's an example. Excuse me. Let's say there's food on the table. I go get it. Why'd I get it? Because I'm hungry. So I'm feeding myself. My mind says, I'm hungry, go get it. I might not even be hungry. It's just, hey, it's there. So I'm going to get some before people take it. Now that shows my selfishness. I got to think about me before other people. Now let's say, oh, what if somebody who donates money to a charity, gives money to a homeless person? That's not selfish, is it? No. But why did they give the money? Because they feel sorry for them. So that deals with their feelings. So to combat that feeling bad, they give money. So now they're doing this to make themselves feel good. So again, every decision you do, you, me, everyone else, he's saying it's self-centered. It's all about us. We do it to please us, ourselves, one way or another. We never do things for other people without getting something for ourselves. And that's what he's saying. And I've challenged the classes. I'm challenging you too. Try to think of something where we as people do something where we're not getting something in return, whether it's feelings or actually like, oh, karma, even something like that, karma. Oh, I'm doing this, and I don't want anything in return. Well, do you believe in karma? Yeah. Well, see, there you go. You're doing something in hopes that something good will happen to you in return. So again, self-centered. You did it for yourself. Maybe if not for something right now, but in the future. Okay. Now he says again, as a leader, you should act on behalf of your state. Even if you come out looking like the villain, if it protects your country, do it. This is last part is one of my favorites. He says, do good when possible, evil if necessary. You should not automatically go straight to evil, doing bad things. No, 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 no. Right? You should always do good when it's possible. And the only time you should do something truly evil is if it's necessary. So he's always saying, keep that part of you that is evil, keep it on the table. You know, leave it there just in case you need it. But don't just be like, oh, we should always be good. We should always do the right thing. Turn the other cheek. Always think about peace. He's like, no. Sometimes you might need to do something evil. Keep that option on your table. So here's your last question. Do you believe Machiavelli is right that it is human nature for us to be self centered? Again, everything we do, every decision we make, it's all about us. Now, if you've skipped and did not listen to the lecture up until this point, you need to really go back to truly understand, or else your response is not going to make sense and you're going to lose a lot of points. So go back 3, 4 minutes, listen to the lecture about the self centeredness, and then answer this question. Okay. So once you've done that, you're done with this lesson. So hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully you enjoyed it. All right. So you guys, you take care, you be safe, and I'll see you guys later. Okay.